Hi, I'm Sherry. I'm from Chard Snyder, who is your new flexible spending account administrator. A little bit about us. Chard Snyder, we are based in a suburb of Cincinnati, Ohio, and we've been a benefits provider for about 30 years. So we've been doing flexible spending account and a wide variety of other benefits for 30 years, and we're here to help you starting in January with your flexible spending account administration. So, as a reminder for those of you who are not familiar with a flexible spending account, what that is a voluntary benefit. It's free to you. It's a way for you to save on eligible health care or dependent child care expenses because you're saving money on taxes. The money is coming out of your check on a pre-tax basis, thereby lowering your taxable income. So how it works, you allocate each year how much you want to contribute to the plan. Again, it comes off your check on a pre-tax basis. And then there are several ways that you can access that money. One of the ways that I'll be talking about that is going to be new for you, anybody who's been using flexible spending account in the past, is we do offer a debit card. So that makes it really easy at the provider's office rather than having to file a claim. You can also file claims, and there are a wide variety of ways to do that as well. In terms of how much money you can save, we do have a really good tax calculator on our website, and you can go to our website currently and get that. You don't need to be logged in. All the information on the back table, anything that is on the flexible spending account has our website information on there and the web address. So I encourage you to look at that. We have a lot of other tools available to you as well. But this calculator can help you determine whether or not this might be a good plan for you, help you think about those types of expenses that you might want to put into the flexible spending account. Or if you've decided you didn't want to do that and would rather file on your income tax, that'll give you the options of how much you would save for that. So we have two flexible spending accounts that are being offered. One is called a healthcare flexible spending account, and the other is called a dependent daycare flexible spending account. I'll first start with the healthcare flexible spending account. The maximum you can contribute for the calendar year is $2,650, and you use this to cover those types of things that are healthcare related, that are expenses that are out of pocket for you. And those are including co-insurance, your co-pays, deductibles on your health plan, as well as prescriptions. It also you can use it for dental and vision. So a really good example was the LASIK. The MES Vision does offer a LASIK discount. That means that you will probably have some out-of-pocket cost for that LASIK surgery. The remainder that is your out-of-pocket cost can be put into that dollar amount, could be put into the healthcare flexible spending account, so you will get some tax-free savings on that. You can also use it for dental expenses. In terms of specific things that are covered under the healthcare flexible spending account, this is an account that is governed by the IRS, so there are specific and a specific list of eligible expenses. Some of those include, like I mentioned earlier, the things for dental treatment, the eye exams, your eyeglasses, your orthodontia is a really good one to use for this, prescription drugs, and many, many more. There is a complete list on the Chard Snyder website. Again, you can get that now. You don't need to be logged in to do that. Just as a mention, there's also a list of those things that are considered ineligible. Those include anything that's considered cosmetic. A good example of that is teeth whitening, massage therapy, your fitness memberships, weight loss programs, as well as vitamin supplements are not covered. If in doubt and you don't find the specific thing on the list of either eligible or ineligible that is on our website, I would highly recommend that you contact Chard Snyder Customer Service. Again, that information's on the brochures in the back before you allocate money into the flexible spending account. I would hate to have you put money in for something that turns out is an ineligible expense. There are some that are gray areas, and Chard Snyder will be able to help you with that without, if you provide enough information about what it is that you're wanting to put in there. The other type of flexible spending account is a dependent daycare flexible spending account. You can elect up to $2,500 if you were filing separately, or if you filed jointly with a spouse, you can use up to $5,000. Again, this is per calendar year. It's for children up to age 12, or in senior care, so in other words, a senior dependent that is over the age. So an example might be your dependent parent that is unable to take care of themselves. And you can use it for a wide variety of different types of daycare. It can be a child care in the home or an actual daycare center. Again, with the senior care, it can be in-home or at a center. It does include nursery schools, after-school and latchkey programs, and summer programs. But in order to be eligible, you have to qualify it, and it needs to allow you and your spouse, if you're married, to either work, go to school, or looking for work. So those are the three things, the kind of litmus tests that you need to use. If it's not allowing you, you're not working at the time that you need the service, for instance, overnight summer camp, you may need the day camp part of it, but the overnight part is not going to be considered eligible because the child would be home with you. Again, dependents under the age of 13, and then in terms of the provider must be reporting their income to the IRS. I tell you that because if you have a private daycare provider, so in-home, a nanny situation, you would want to check with them first before you decided on enrolling into this account, because once you submit a claim, you do need to provide Chard Snyder with their tax identification number, and for an individual, that's their social security number. If they're not filing taxes and they're not declaring this as income, they may be reluctant to give you that information. And then some of the ineligible expenses, your spouse can't be the one providing the care, or any of your dependents, so if you have an older child, and if you're not working. How do you know if it's an eligible expense? In terms of the healthcare flexible spending account, we have a really neat feature on our mobile app. So I would highly encourage you to download the mobile app. Not only will it allow you to find out how much money you have in your flexible spending account at any time, you can also file claims through it. And you can do an expense scanner. So it has a way that you take your phone and you scan the barcode of the item at the pharmacy, for instance. So you're looking at a thing of sunscreen. Well, is this eligible or not? You scan that and it will come back and tell you that yes, sunscreen is an eligible expense. But next to that, you might be looking at toothpaste, and then it will tell you no, toothpaste is not an eligible expense. So that really is helpful when you're at the pharmacy. Again, we have a full list of things that are eligible and ineligible on our website, so I highly encourage you to visit that. And you can always call the customer service line if you have any questions. There's also one more thing that you can use, and that's called the FSA store. This is really great, especially at the end of the year when you've got some money left over and you're trying to spend it all. It is like shopping on Amazon, except it is actually for those items that are only those types of things that are eligible under the flexible spending account. So you can buy your contact lens solution, you can buy those at sunscreen, you can buy the first aid kit and ointments and Band-Aids and those types of things, and you do it all online and they ship it to your home. So that is also a really good option for you to use. You can use it anytime, but a lot of people tend to use it toward the end of the year. I mentioned earlier that there's many ways that you can access the money in your account, and one of the easiest ways will be to use your benefit card. Anybody that does enroll in either of the flexible spending accounts, so the health care account or the dependent care account, will be sent a debit card. It looks like the one that is featured with the kite on it. That is our new rebranded debit card. That can be used and swiped at the pharmacy when you have prescriptions or are buying those over-the-counter eligible expenses. If your physician or your dentist or your eye care provider takes a debit or credit card, you can swipe it at that. If your daycare center takes a debit card, you can use it for that. For those types of expenses or those types of providers that do not accept the debit card, or if you just rather prefer not to use it, you can file the claim. And you would just need to make sure that it is for eligible expenses. If you do file the claim, you can do that online. You can also send it to our office. Again, it's in Cincinnati area, so it will take a couple days, mail days, to get that to us. So I would highly recommend that you use either the mobile app or the claims submission on the website. You can just take a picture or scan the receipts. Your receipt does need to include all this information: the date of service, the recipient name, the description of the service, the provider's name and address, and the amount you paid. So those are all really important. A quick note about when you do use the benefit card. There will be times where we may come back and ask you to give us more information. We call that substantiating the claim. If it comes through to us electronically with not enough information to help us determine whether that's an eligible expense. An example is dentists. A lot of times the dental provider will, when you give them your card, what comes over to Chard Snyder is dental expense and nothing else, nothing very descriptive. Well, we can't determine whether that is an eligible or an ineligible expense because there are certain dental expenses, such as those cosmetic things, that are not covered, but a dentist may provide them. So always save your receipts when you use your debit card. After about a year, you can go ahead and throw them away if you'd like, but just in case we would need to substantiate that claim. Most providers we don't have a problem with, and I will tell you right now that most of the national change for the pharmacies are all tied into the system very easily, and we always know that it's an eligible expense. The card is also considered a smart card. So again, when you swipe it at the pharmacy, many times if you're buying a lot of different things, so let's say you've got 3 prescriptions, you've got some over-the-counter things, and then you're also buying greeting cards, they're going to ring those up all together. First, swipe your benefit card for your flexible spending account, and it will most likely know that all those items over here were eligible, but those greeting cards are not, and so that you can pay for part of you don't have to do 2 separate transactions. You can actually pay for it with a different card. Some rules, again, the must be eligible. That's why Chard Snyder is here for you, so we can help determine whether those expenses are eligible. And I know sometimes it's kind of inconvenient if we do come back and ask you for substantiation of some claims, but that is helping you to not have those claims that are ineligible if you were ever audited. If you do use a flexible spending account, you can't use those same expenses and claim them on your income tax because that's double dipping, and IRS doesn't really like that. You do want to decide how much you want to contribute at the beginning of the year. So when you do your open enrollment elections, you will need to determine how much you want to allocate to each of those 2 accounts, healthcare flexible spending account and the dependent care, up to those maximums that I mentioned earlier. You want to make sure that you feel really confident that you will spend that much money because there is a use it or lose it clause. That is same as it's been for the flexible spending account in the past. That has not changed. So any money that you have left over at the end of the year, you could potentially forfeit that if you haven't used it all. So you don't want to over budget on that. You want to be reasonably sure that you are going to have those types of expenses. The only time, the only time that you would be able to change those elections in the middle of the year is if you had a qualifying event. So examples of your qualifying life events might be your marital status changes, so you're adding or dropping a dependent. You have a change in the number of dependents, so you are adding a dependent due to a birth or adoption, or you have a child that is aging out and going off the plan. Your employment or eligibility changes. And then if you're in the dependent daycare account, one of the other options is actually not like a life event change, but if you change your daycare provider. So let's say you've decided to move to a different daycare provider, and that daycare provider either is increases or decreases your costs. You can increase or decrease your flexible spending account election up to that maximum allowed by the IRS for the in the middle of the year. You just need to let your HR department know if you experience any of these or have any questions on that. I mentioned earlier that if you don't use your money by the end of the calendar year, you may lose that. There is a grace period that's offered under the healthcare flexible spending account. It is not offered under the dependent care account. Those accounts, it's much easier to budget because you really do know what your dependent care expenses are going to be. But for the healthcare flexible spending account, if you find yourself not being able to spend like the $100 that you have remaining on December 31st, you do not need to worry. You do have a grace period, and you can continue to use that, what we call old money from the previous plan year, up through dates of service, up through March 15th of the following calendar year. You then have, if you're filing a claim, you have until April 15th to file that claim with Chard Snyder before we will close the account and close the books, and if you still have money left over, then that will be forfeited. So you want to make sure that you pick up a brochure or a flyer in the back that talks about that grace period, because if you do have funds left over, then there is a way to get them and not lose that money. Also, just remember that FSA store. That's kind of what that's for. A lot of people are using that at the end of the year or near the end of the grace period so that they're not losing those funds. I mentioned the mobile app several times. I would highly recommend that you download that. You can do that right now if you'd like, if you know for sure you're going to be enrolling in the flexible spending account. You can get that through the App Store, either through your Android or through your Apple phone. Again, you want to get the Chard Snyder. You want online access for them, so if you don't want to use the mobile app, you can certainly do it on a computer. You will not be able to register either on the mobile app or on the Chard Snyder website until after you've enrolled in the flexible spending account, and once we have that information all loaded in our system. Since you guys are all new, you will be, everybody that is enrolling in the flexible spending account will get a debit card sometime in December. Once you get that debit card, you know for sure that we know who you are, so you can go ahead and register your account. That way you have access to file claims. You can look up your expenses and see how much is in your account. Do want to caution you, though, that when we send those debit cards, it's in a nondescript white envelope. It does not have any return address on it. Because we sent it in December, you're getting a lot of things in the mail in December. Plus, I think as most people find that you get a lot of junk mail all the time anyway. So be sure to make a note of that and open all your mail in the month of December so that you don't just mistakenly throw those debit cards away. If that does happen or you need additional cards, just give us a call and we can send those out. And so whoever has the debit card and whoever signs it is able to use it even if it has your name on it. So you can give it to those kids that are away at college or give it to a spouse, whatever. I mentioned earlier to saving the receipt, so you want to make sure that you have all the information on there. Just saving the receipt that's from your credit card, if you've paid not through the debit card, is not sufficient because it's not itemized, so make sure that it has enough information on it for you to submit the claim. And again, all the tools and technology that we have available. You can also email us with questions at askpenny@chard-snyder.com, or you can do a live chat as well, and that's available to you right now if you are wanting to ask questions prior to enrollment.